Hey everyone, it's Devin here at the Saltwater Edge. Today we're going to talk about the different aspects of bucktail and how you'd use it in fly tying. So here is a standard piece of bucktail. It's really important to understand that the hair on the bucktail has different properties based on where it is located on the tail. The hair here at the tip is the least hollow of all the hair. It's going to have the least flare when you apply thread pressure to it. The hair down here at the bottom is the most hollow. It's going to resemble more deer body hair in terms of tying applications. The stuff here in the middle is good for your deceivers, your hollow flies. The stuff here at the end is really good for the tail of a deceiver or even a clouser minnow where you want that slick back minnow profile. When you apply thread pressure, it's not going to flare out and give you a really wide profile like the stuff down here. The stuff we're at down here at the bottom is really good for like bulkheads when you finish off a deceiver or a big hollow fly. As a natural material, bucktail is subject to a lot of variation between pieces. As you can see here, there's a lot of variation between different pieces of bucktail. The first thing to understand, the first thing to look for is the color that you want. Bucktail is available in almost as many colors as you think of, so that's the first step. The second thing you want to look for is the length of the hair. Here we have some very long hair. Here, it's quite a bit shorter. So if you're tying a lot of clousers, deceivers, and you want a really long profile, you really want to look for some nice high quality bucktail, hopefully with a lot of hair by the tip so you can tie those deceivers. If you're tying a lot of, bulkheads and hollow flies, you really want some dense fibers down here so you can tie all of those. When you're tying with bucktail in terms of thread, you really want at least 140 denier. You want something that's grippy and strong, and when you're hollow tying, you want something that'll build up a bulky cone in front. We'll show you here in a minute. Two great options here are you can use monofilament, Danville 210, and also GSP 200 is another great option. So when cutting and selecting a piece of bucktail, so for here I'm going to use some non-hollow hair towards the tip, get a reasonable clump, snip it as close to the hide as you can. And now what's very important is there's a lot of short stubby hairs in here that are going to make it difficult to work with. So you take your left hand and you grab it about the halfway point. Now you can take your right hand and pull out all those short hairs. And you can manipulate the amount of fibers in this. So if I don't want a lot of fibers and I just want long fibers, I'll grab it way towards the tip and pull out all the short stuff. But around the halfway point is a pretty good rule of thumb. So you pull those out. You can also flick it too to release some of those fibers. And now it's ready to tie in. Like I said, this is not very hollow, so we will see that it won't flare very much. It's very important to get a good pinch on it with your left hand. Two relatively loose wraps around it. And now it's very important to distribute all those fibers around the hook shank evenly. And the way you do that, so here's the hook shank. All these fibers are bundled up at the top right now. I'm going to take my thumb and push down, which is going to distribute those fibers relatively evenly around the hook. Push down, and now I'm going to take my two fingers and pinch the sides. And that ensures that you get an even split of bucktail around that. And now what I'm going to do is just pull tight. This is where that strong thread comes in. Pull tight, wrap. You can see we didn't get much flare on that, and that's perfect for the top wing of a clouser or the tail of a bucktail deceiver. So here, we have a clump of relatively hollow hair towards the base of the tail. So, 3 loose wraps to get it secured to the hook. Take your thumb, distribute those fibers, pinch the sides to further distribute them. Now I'll give it one more, and you'll see just how hollow this stuff is. It's almost like deer body hair, how much that flares. So if you're tying like a musky Buford or a big bulkhead to finish a fly, this is exactly what you want. So a very unique technique you can employ with bucktail is called hollow tying, and it allows you to create large profile, highly castable flies using minimal materials. I'll show you how to do it. So you want to select hair from about the 1/3 point on your bucktail. It has the best combination of stiffness and hollowness. So I'll select about pencil width worth of hair here. Cut it close. I'm going to do the technique again. Pinch it at the halfway point. Pull out all the short fibers, which this bucktail does not have many. And now, instead of tying it in like this, you're going to flip it around. Tie in the butts first. Same rules apply. And it's critical that these thread wraps are entirely perpendicular to the axis of the hook shank. You'll see why in a second. Perpendicular wraps, 3 of them, pretty light. Thumb down, pinch, distribute all those fibers, pull tight. You'll see that flare a bit. Pull tight, making sure that there is a perpendicular thread wall right here. If this is at any sort of angle, the bucktail won't flare evenly. You have high flare here and flat here, and it's not going to look good. So now that we have this secured, you take your high-tech bucktail packing tool, in this instance, a hollowed-out pen. Take it, push it down the length of the hook shank. Get it good. And now you're going to take your fingers, and you can visually inspect to see that all this hair is going where it should be. Pull it all back with your fingers. It takes a bit of preening, and take your time with this because it's worth it. Take your thread, pull it down the length of the hook shank. It's very important that you do that, and then come around. And now you're going to build a thread dam in front. It's okay if some of those butts get caught up there. It's not a big deal. And you're going to build, this is when that really heavy thread comes in. Because not only does it have to be strong, but if you use too light of a thread, it's going to take ages to build up a thread dam here. When you're building this cone, you want to wrap down a bit too. If you just wrap right up here by the hair, it's going to start collapsing on you. So up, back down, up. And you'll start to see this angle start to close as I do this. Show you here. Now you'll see these wraps are coming over the top. That angle's closing. And now you can set your angle. So when you're tying a fly like this stuff in the back I'm tying in the round, pretty much flat. And then I'm controlling the flare as I go up this fly. That's how you create that profile. So if you're tying a big hollow fly, how much you want to flare it depends on where you are in your fly. For this instance, I'll flare it just a little bit less. Close that angle. And we'll call that good. And that is how you hollow tie bucktail to make a big profile that casts incredibly well. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you learned something today. If you have any questions about fly tying or fly fishing, contact us at the Saltwater Edge. And if you're looking for fly tying materials, you can come in and browse our selection. Also follow Devin Fishing on Instagram if you want to learn more about bucktail fly tying.